Hi, it's Mitch. Happy New Year. Here with Chris. Not sure where Rod is. Ring him up. Maybe he'll show up later on. But I'll tell you, still very much under the weather here. As Chris just said before the show, maybe we should change our name to Sick Dogs for the time being because we all seem to be coming down with something. Definitely, it's like I thought I had this cold beat or whatever it is, and man, it has come back twice as hard. So I don't know. Hopefully, you guys are feeling a lot better than I am. It's New Year's Day, so I don't know. This used to be the day in college football. Like all the big games used to be on New Year's Day. You know, the Fiesta, the Rose, the Sugar, the Orange, all were on New Year's Day. And then there was also these early games: Outback, the Citrus, the Gator Bowl used to be on New Year's Day. Now they've kind of moved everything around. Now it's like I think they went too far the other way. And now we only have 4 games on New Year's Day. There was always that spot for the Rose Bowl where it kind of was had that late afternoon spot to itself. But now it's kind of like there's nothing there. Yeah, we don't do teasers. That's for suckers. Teasers are for suckers. We should get shirts made on that too. We got a lot of sayings we could put on shirts. Yeah, what I want to do is give away part of my winnings. Because I can't bet an underdog. That's basically what teasers are called. Too afraid to bet the underdog, so I'll just always give you money. Oh man, I'm in a good mood. Chris, what's up? And how's your New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it was good. We just hung in, ordered some Chinese food, watched the hockey, watched my New York Rangers almost come back from 6-0 down to make it 6-5, and then couldn't get the job done late. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yesterday a few surprises in there. Definitely the Devils, coming through against your Bruins.
Pretty sure you had that.
Well, I gave it on the show. I mean, it just
Yeah.
seems to be where the value's at.
Yeah.
But I mean, this weekend, college basketball kind of really gets started. I was looking at the schedule for Saturday, trying to figure out what videos I'm going to do. I'm up to like 30, so I'm going to have to pare those down and figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. But I think what I'm going to do is just do shorter videos. I think for me, the hard part of doing all those videos is generally the preparation. And I think when we start to get into conference play and we get into that time of year, all the other homework that I've done all season heading into that point where the other guys act like college basketball hasn't even started, all that really comes in to play for me. And it makes those other videos a lot easier. I don't have to really put a lot of those notes into it. I kind of very, very familiar with the team. So it's like, when that's the case, you guys can see the NFL videos. I don't have any notes or anything. I didn't do it, and those are the ones that people seem to enjoy the most. So, I think when I get too technical with the numbers, it's usually when I don't know as much, and I'm trying to work through it, and I think people can see that too. But, Chris, Alabama, Michigan, what are you thinking?
I've gone back and forth on this, and I mean, within my circle of friends personally, we've been talking about this game, and some of my friends are like, oh, is Alabama going to show up because it's their first time not being in the playoff in 5 years? I think it's the opposite. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. It's not like they were shafted by the committee. They put themselves in this spot with losses to LSU and to Auburn. I think, we know Jim Harbaugh sometimes has a reputation of not showing up in these big games. I think that's the case here. I think Alabama comes in and wins by at least a couple of touchdowns, all late in 7.5.
Yeah, we've seen Alabama go both ways, back before there was a playoff and things like that. We've seen them get routed in the Sugar Bowl by Utah, and then we've seen them in other bowl games where they just absolutely stomp people. It like you said, it all depends. And we've seen Michigan both ways as well. But generally, in these bowl games, Michigan does not show up. We saw Florida State beat them up a few years ago. We saw South Carolina, the Clowney team, basically decleat them. And, I'm just not so sure that, Michigan has the guns to hang here, and traditionally a team where the players, don't go on in the bowl games. So, just the way that it is. There's no real New Year's tradition here in Hawaii as far as like a pineapple drop or anything, but what it is, it's poke on New Year's Day. Ahi poke is the tradition, and they have, like I mentioned on yesterday's show, they have a big ahi auction, and it's I'm telling you, you could probably lose your shirt at something like that if you don't know what you're doing. Crazy the prices on some of the ahi out there, but it is what it is. That's the New Year's tradition in Hawaii, is poke. And high hotel prices. Very high hotel prices. I know down the street from me, about 3/4 of a mile away at the Four Seasons, I think rooms are going about $2,000 a night. So how about this hockey game in Dallas? One hockey game on the schedule. Normally there's actually a couple games, right? And it's like this year they just have one.
Yeah, I think they've started to shift more towards making the outdoor game on New Year's Day like the game, and then the rest of it just kind of built around it the day before and the day after.
Well, why don't you have the two best teams then?
Yeah, I agree.
If you're gonna do that, take the best team with the East and the best team in the West, and as of this day, kind of like what they do with the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, where it's kind of like, today's the voting day, and everyone knows it cuts off today, and it's kind of like as of this date, and they do it in the NBA with the coaches and things like that. So it's like, why wouldn't the NHL kind of, which loves novelty acts? I mean, look at their All-Star Game, right? So why wouldn't you just say whoever has the best record in the East versus the best record in the West, and whoever has the best record of those two hosts the game? I mean, I think it would be interesting if it was the Panthers or the Lightning to have it outside in Florida. I think that would be really It's 95 here in Miami today.
They're swimming with the puck. Now, as far as this game goes, I'm gonna side with the under. It's supposed to be in the mid-50s for this game, so I think that it's gonna make the ice a little bit softer, as if it's not already soft as it is. And that's going to kind of neutralize, the high-scoring kind of up-tempo game that Nashville likes to play, where they like to score a lot of goals. But I also think that plays into Dallas's hand a little bit. They like to play a more defensive style, more hard-hitting, more physical. So my stronger play is on the under, but if you want to pick a side or maybe put both together, I would take Dallas as well at home.
Yeah. So it would be. If that was the case, if it went to the Mitch system, it'd be the Blues and the Capitals, and it would be
which would be a really good game.
Yeah, and it would be in Washington. Nothing wrong with that. You could really there's a lot of really great spots you could have it outside in Washington. FedEx Field is one of them, and there's other places too. Doesn't DC United have their own stadium too?
Yeah, RFK. Yeah.
Yeah. So. There's a lot of things they could have done, and maybe I'll send them a letter. These guys never answer me back.
Well, I was on Facebook yesterday and I accidentally clicked the messenger thing on the NHL. It says typically responds instantly. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see about that.
Yeah. But a bunch of games going on today. How about Minnesota versus Auburn? What are you thinking here? It's like, the weird thing here is that we saw Minnesota play pretty tough all season and pretty, disciplined. That's PJ Fleck. He comes across as this rah guy, but my guess is that in practice and things like that, he's a pretty stiff disciplinarian type coach. Probably pretty tough to work for, and he gets the results, but where he didn't get the results was against Wisconsin. The Iowa game and Wisconsin, two of the more physical teams in the Big Ten, they weren't physical enough. We saw them make plays against Penn State at home. They still left the back door open for Penn State, and Penn State just couldn't get there. They were on, inside the 10-yard line or inside in the red zone, late in the game. They just threw the interception instead of the touchdown. Meanwhile, Auburn, they've had they played the toughest, one of the toughest schedules. They opened with Washington, or they opened with Oregon, and that was their out of conference, and then they played Alabama, LSU, Florida, and most of those games, outside of the Alabama game, and remember they beat Alabama this year.
Yeah.
Most of those games were on the road. They went to Florida. They played at LSU. They lost barely to LSU. It came down to an onside kick at the end. They had a chance at the ball and didn't get it. They fought them tooth and nail. And I think, in those big road games like that, that's how you play it. You play it, you try and be in it close enough to give yourself a chance to win in the end. And I think that's, exactly what they did. The Florida game, same thing. They were right there the whole game. Gus Malzahn has the best record against Nick Saban of any coach out there. It'd be hard to believe that he would lose to this Minnesota team, but motivation is always a big thing for bowl games, and you can see Minnesota being very, very motivated for this game, while Auburn maybe less than that.
Yeah, I think personally, I think this is the hardest game on the board for the day. Minnesota, they're 10-2, but the problem for me is that they didn't play Ohio State. They didn't really have to deal with Michigan. Auburn, like I said, they had a really tough schedule from the beginning. I just think that this is a game that's kind of going to be won in the trenches, and I think Auburn just has a little bit extra. And I think they're the better team defensively, personally. So I'll lay the 7 with Auburn.
Yeah, I think Schwartz is the key here for Auburn, and it looks like he's going to go in this game. Yeah. And of course, that Auburn defensive line. We see a lot of players that sit out for these bowl games, but the Auburn defensive line is certainly a place where I thought we might see some guys sitting out, but they're not. And with that being said, I don't see how Minnesota is going to run the football on them. I know PJ Fleck's going to dial some stuff up here, and he's going to try and get his team motivated. If Minnesota doesn't get up in this game, if they maybe we'll come by on halftime of this one because there's the 2 games at the same time, and maybe we can come by at halftime. And this game used to be the one that started at 11 a.m. on New Year's Day. This used to be the early one. And it's had a lot of names over the years. But it's been the Outback Bowl for a little while now. But, I just think that if Minnesota is going to have a fighting chance, they have to be in the lead. If they fall behind here, they're dead. They're dead. If they go down by more than 10 points, this could be one of the uglier beatdowns of the day. But, on the other side of it, if they come out motivated, which they will, and if they can march down for an opening touchdown, this could be a ball game, And they weren't able to do it against Wisconsin, and they weren't able to do it against Iowa. But those teams had motivation at that point. Wisconsin was trying to get to the Big Ten championship game, and they land themselves in the Rose Bowl, which we'll talk about in a second. And Iowa, I don't know. They always seem to play. They always seem to show up. There's certainly it's amazing. But I don't know. What do you think? What's going to be your pick? I think that this is one that we might see an over. 54.5.
Yeah. No, I'll still lay the points with Auburn. Maybe I'll side with the over as well. But I like Auburn better. Late in the 7.
Just 4 games in the NBA today. I think this is one of the, with just 4 games out there. So the Milwaukee Bucks are laying 18 points at home in this one against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are horrid. I mean, they're terrible. They've won recently, but look at who the wins came against. I don't know. I like the Bucks and against minus the 18 points. It's just not words you hear from my mouth too often. What do you think here?
I like the over in that game. Is the over 223.
How about Lakers and Suns?
11 points. I'll lay the 11 with the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I just think, it's odd that the line hasn't moved much, but it's also odd that the line is 11, when the Lakers really haven't been at their best. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Lakers there. You see anything in college hoops that you like today?
Yeah, there were a couple that I was looking at. I like UConn plus the 2 against Cincinnati, and I also like them on the money line as well. Um, I like Marquette plus the 3 against Creighton. And the game that kind of surprised me that I might actually consider playing, this is a game that, I don't think you'd ever hear me say this either. I like San Jose State plus 10 against New Mexico. Mexico's missing two of their top players, and they have off court issues right now. Both suspended. San Jose State played Santa Clara tough. They only lost to San Diego State by a bucket. They killed Pepperdine in their last outing. I think they have a chance here against New Mexico. I really do.
I don't know. New Mexico's pretty good.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if San Jose State got blown out, but I just think there's a chance here. That's all.
Let's see what we got. Yeah, I went through a lot of the college hoops today on the videos. Like I said, I apologize. And it's like I hate to apologize for being sick, but I really, really am sick. Normally, it's like I'm sick in these videos. Like I've been doing, these videos for over 12 years, and I've never missed a day. And I've been doing these live shows ever since they had live on Facebook, and before the YouTube even caught up and did their own lives, right? And I used to just do Facebook Live because I don't know. I just think that I love YouTube. I love it a lot, but I think that their readers don't have a lot of accountability. I think, and we still see it, in the comments where it's like, people coming by and telling you who won the game after the game. It's like, I don't even understand your point. Is this what you do with your life? You go around to all of the videos and when they picked against your team, or even if they picked for your team. Yeah, if you have picks, you should put those in the Facebook group. That's the place for you to put your picks. But there's definitely some interesting games out there. I certainly didn't cover all of them in the videos either. And looking at the schedule, it's kind of like, man, I could have probably done a few more videos. But man, I have to tell you, I was ass dragging doing those things last night. I'm with you on UConn against Cincinnati. This just does not look like the same Cincinnati team that we've seen in the past. Losing to Bowling Green and losing to Colgate, just uninspiring. Well, UConn, their 3 losses are all against heavy hitters, and they have wins against heavy hitters as well. Got Wisconsin against Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I think that this is one of the more interesting matchups too. We know Wisconsin always ready for bowl games. They just seem to always be ready. They've always have been, for the longest time. It's like Wisconsin gets to a bowl game, they just always seem to be up for it. They always seem to be ready. We've seen Oregon, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We saw them against a real defensive teams a few times this season. First against Auburn to start the season, and they played Auburn really, really tough. If you go back to that game, Oregon was winning the whole way. They gave up a late touchdown and lost. And then the game against Arizona State, the reason why we had to sit through that Oklahoma LSU game is because of that debacle. But Arizona State, as we saw again yesterday, a pure defensive team, and that's kind of what they face here with Wisconsin, a team that plays really, really hard defense and then runs the football at you. Really bad quarterback play for Wisconsin. Then we have opposite ends of the spectrum in this game. We have Justin Herbert, who I think is top 5 NFL draft choice up against, probably one of the worst quarterbacks.
Yeah. For me, I like the free field goal with Oregon here. I just like what Mario Cristobal's done with that team. I do think Wisconsin has obviously better running back with Jonathan Taylor, but I just think that Oregon makes those extra couple big plays down the stretch to keep this one. If they're trailing, they'll keep it close, and if they're ahead, they might just be able to make that play to get that little first down to be able to run out the clock.
Yeah, to me, it's like I always think that when you have, and we see this a lot in these bowl games, especially, is when you have the high-powered offense up against a really good defense and a team that can run the football. Once the defensive team gets up a little bit, it becomes desperation time. Even Florida State, who kind of hung in there and completed some of those desperation passes, and how many of these desperation passes in these bowl games are we seeing completed? I mean, there's been some of the best catches and throws where it just looks like they're throwing it up for grabs. Even in the Texas-Utah game, right? It's like Texas was catching those. And, we've seen it a bunch. Yeah, if you have picks, the place to put those is in the Facebook group. It'd be awesome if you did that because no one here cares. So it's like, put them where people care. If you really want to give out your picks and discuss your picks, we have a Facebook group. It's right down here, the address of where to put them. And like I said, if you guys want to have your own show where you give out your picks, I encourage you to do so. I strongly encourage you to do it. I do it every day on here, and Chris is with me a lot of the time. We have Rod with us a bunch of the time too, but and Steve Monahan as well. We'll be adding other people too, but yeah, I encourage you. God, if you have your own picks and your own opinions, and you want to show up 40 minutes late and ask about a game we already went over or whatever, it's like by all means, man, do your own thing or go to the Facebook group, right? Give out your picks, but. Yeah, I think that, to me, it's like Oregon generally, with Mario Cristobal, he is a rah-rah coach that's going to have the team up. It's just, I don't like the way they played against Arizona State. This is certainly not an easier game than that. And Wisconsin traditionally way up for bowl games. They're like one of the best bowl teams over the last 30 years, not just the last 5 years, not just the last 10 years, like the last 30 years, one of the best bowl teams. We've seen them overmatched in games and still, show up. And I tell you, my Miami Hurricanes have been on the wrong end of it twice against these guys in recent years. They've drawn Wisconsin 2 times, man. Got shellacked, both of them. So, but the Hurricanes on the other side of it, they're a team traditionally that does not get up for bowl games unless they're championship games. I've seen teams of Miami Hurricanes with, 5 first-round draft choices, from in just the seniors on the team, get shellacked in bowl games that don't have any meaning. So we've seen it. Not really sure what these questions are. I mean, today, I think we're just gonna. I'm not feeling well, and I don't know. I don't understand the comments, so I'm not gonna sit here and try and interpret them. Are you asking about games that we already went over, or are you giving out picks? I'm not really sure what these questions are. I mean, I could type in a bunch of stuff too. But I'm just too sick to try and figure it out. Doing the best I can to hold it together here. But any other college hoops that you like out there?
No, I think those are the couple that I'm going to look at today.
Yeah, I think the Marquette Creighton game is definitely the game of the day. That's like the best game of the day. I think that I think the learn something game is going to be East Tennessee against Wofford. How is Wofford? They've played a pretty heavy schedule. They're only 8-5, but this is a team that we saw were absolute bruisers last year. And they don't have the same team they had last year, but East Tennessee State is really good. SoCon is always a factor. They're always a factor in things. So I think that's, to me, is another interesting game. I think that, I think, to me, Fresno State, a team that's 4-9 that gets more respect than any team out there that I've ever seen is this Fresno team. I mean, San Diego State is a beast this season. This is one of the best San Diego State teams I think they've ever had. But anyways, let's wrap it up. Let's go to this Baylor Georgia Sugar Bowl. This this is the toughest game on the board because Georgia has guys that are out for this one. A lot of guys that are out, but they're so fast. Baylor's fast, but what we saw against Oklahoma is that they weren't fast across the board. They have like one really good receiver, one really good running back, but Georgia's got everybody on the roster. I mean, Dalvin Cook's brother can't get off the bench in Georgia, right? He's great. He's fantastic. Georgia has Kirby Smart has such an amount of talent there in Georgia, and I mean, I'm not a Kirby Smart team, a Kirby Smart guy. I'm not a Kirby Smart guy, but I mean, look at the amount of talent that he has on that team where Justin Fields can transfer out, and they don't bat an eye at it, They lose, NFL running backs every single year, NFL wide receivers every single year since Kirby Smart's been there, and they're loaded so fast in the secondary too. But are they missing too much in this game? And we're up against really one of the better coaches out there. It's not pissing me off. It's just I don't understand it. So it's like if someone typed in the comments green. I mean, what does that mean? I don't understand it. It's like you need to be so clear. It's like it's like we don't have this mental connection. I don't understand. We're not having a conversation. So when you just say things, I'm not really sure what you're saying. I don't really understand it. So it's like when you leave comments, you need to be crystal clear and very specific with it. If you're asking a question, if you're giving a pick, say, is my pick? Say, are they going to win? Clarify. You can't be, you can't half-ass it. It's like, I don't half-ass it here. I'm showing up. And this is about as sick as I get right now. So I'm here. So I got about 2 hours sleep. If there was ever a day where I had an excuse not to show up, today's the day. I've been here, surgery. I've had teeth pulled and been on here. I've been, wherever I've been. I've done this from airports. I've done this from everywhere. You name it. We've done a show from there. But it's, it doesn't make me a mind reader when it comes to the questions. That's for sure. The comments, I don't understand it. So that's not pissing me off. It's just I'm trying to figure it out. It's like I said, if it's your picks, then start your own show. By all means. It's New Year's. It's a great day to start a new show. Compete. Run right up against this. Chris, what do you think? Georgia versus Baylor. This is the hardest game on the board. I could go back. I could be talked into either one. I gave out Baylor on the video. Man. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Baylor as well. I'm gonna put a little bit on Baylor money line. I just think that sorry, there's a you take Baylor, who was 1-11 2 years ago, and now they're 7-6, and you tell them now that they're going to be playing in a New Year's bowl game. I think they're going to be pumped. I got a buddy
better than 7-6, Baylor.
Yeah,
they're not. You said they're 7-6.
No. Last year they were 7-6.
They're 11-2.
Yeah, I'm saying
they're stacked.
They go from 1-11 to 7-6, now 11-2 to play in a New Year's bowl game. And I've got a buddy in New Orleans who's been following everything around the Sugar Bowl. He's been telling me Baylor looks like they're pumped for this game, and Georgia just looks like, we're here.
But we know one thing in the Sugar Bowl is that the SEC fans show up for this game in droves. They do. Yeah. They show up big, and it'll be interesting to see what the crowd looks like. Baylor, it is a big game for them because it's a chance. It's not just about this year and this game. It is about it's about the future, because it's like you can always point back and say, yeah, we played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, we whipped them. It's like kind of what I say about Clemson. It's like they played Alabama in the championship game last year and they whipped them. They slaughtered them. If you look at Clemson's winning streak, look at who. They struggled against North Carolina. Yeah, but look at the winning streak and look at who they've beaten along the way. Alabama. Within an inch of their life. Notre Dame, within an inch of their life. It's Ohio State now.
Yeah.
We used to have in Miami, when we had the home winning streak, the longest home winning streak in college football is Miami, 59 in a row. And in the old Orange Bowl, we used to have the cemetery, in the west end zone, where it wasn't a real cemetery, but we had cut out tombstones that people would and just put it up, and just every game they would reset them up, and it would be every team that lost, in that streak. And it started with Florida, and that was always a proud thing. But there was a lot of great teams in there, But anyways, Georgia. They're so talented. It's hard for me to believe that they're not going to be, running up and down the field here. But like I said, I don't have a premium pick in this, and I can be talked either way. I do see the line movement. I took Baylor in the video, but the line movement has now gone back the other way because it was down to 4, and now it's to 5. So there is money coming in on Georgia. I don't do juice, man. I had a really, really bad experience with juicing, so I don't do it. I don't know. I'll tell you what, Baylor, Georgia is one of these for me. I'm going to do it right now. I haven't done this in a while, but it's our first one of the 2020s. Maybe we should have got a new penny for this one. Baylor is the road team. I'm taking them. All right. Anything else on this card that we missed, Chris?
Not that I can see.
I'll go over some quick college hoops while I'm here. Why not? We did pretty well yesterday in the free picks on the college hoops. Man, college hoops is so hard. How about Butler blowing that giant lead against St. John's and then squeezing out the win at the end? So if you're going to do that, you might as well lose. I like UNLV against Utah State. Utah State's a lousy cover team, and laying 7 points on the road in a conference game. I don't like that. Kind of like Boise against Wyoming. This is a lousy Wyoming team. Really not a good one. Boise's pretty good this year. So, going to go with those two. Other than that, I think we've exceeded our goal with how long we want to be in talking on the show. I think you said I'm going to go back to bed. But, Chris, who'd you take today? We'll just do it side by side here.
That's okay. I liked sorry. In the hockey game, I like the under 5.5, and I like Dallas minus 120. For NCAA football, I like Alabama minus 7.5, Auburn minus 7 with the over 54.5. I like Oregon plus 3. I like Baylor plus the 5 and Baylor money line against Georgia. For college hoops, I like UConn plus 2 and money line against Cincinnati. Marquette plus 3 against Creighton. Lean towards San Jose State plus 10 against New Mexico. And for the NBA, I like Milwaukee minus the 18, and I like the Lakers minus 11.
I took the over in the Minnesota-Auburn game. I took Baylor on the coin flip. I took the Bucks, the Lakers, UNLV, Boise. I think some of these other games, we gotta see what happens. But I'll come on. I'll try and come on at halftime of the early games. I'll see how I'm feeling. If not, it'll probably be halftime of the Rose Bowl for that one. Anyways, this is Mitch. Chris, thanks for joining us on New Year's Day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We got a big NHL. We're kind of back to business tomorrow. I think there's a massive college basketball schedule coming up ahead too. I went through Saturday for the games I'm going to do videos on. It's a monster list. Hopefully I'm feeling better by then. But have a great day, everyone. I will see you guys later on during some of these halftimes. I'll try and make the early halftime. If I don't, it'll definitely be the Rose Bowl and then the Sugar. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone. Happy New Year.